Have you ever watched a player and gone, wow, you are rubbish, or your career is really going to end soon, but then 2 or 3 years down the line, he's playing in a different position and he's a completely new player? So let's look at some footballers where a position change has completely transformed their career. Let's start with Antonio Valencia, a man who gets a bit forgotten about these days, a man who was brilliant at Wigan Athletic, and a man who also throttled a teenage Raheem Sterling. He was brilliant at Wigan, and he got him a move to Man United in 2009. And you think about it, 2009, who left Man United? Cristiano Ronaldo. He was brought in as the winger, not to replace Ronaldo because they already had Nani. However, naturally there was going to be a lot of pressure put on him. He actually had an excellent first season. He came in the PFA Team of the Year. He scored 7 goals and 13 assists, a lot of them going to Wayne Rooney, who probably had the best season of his entire career. But he was just a direct winger, wasn't he? Didn't have a left foot. He was just down that right byline, and a lot of his assists just came really smashing the ball across the box. Then in his second year, he was out for 6 months with a fractured ankle, which naturally pushed him back a bit. This was where Ferguson, after his injury, started tinkering him a bit in right back, just as a bit of cover because Phil Jones was in a bit, Raphael was in a bit. When he got moved to right back for a bit, Valencia has said, I was obviously happy to do that, especially when he mentioned that it was only for a brief period. I'm more comfortable in my own position though. It's such an odd career because he was given the number 7 shirt under Ferguson. And obviously we know David Beckham, Cristiano Ronaldo, George Best, all these players were synonymous with the number 7. It's a massive pressure that all Man United players have to live up to. His form was decreasing, and when David Moyes came in, he was given the number 25 shirt. But to me, Louis van Gaal was the first manager to really put Valencia in the right back position. You have to remember, during this time, Angel Di Maria joined Man United, Memphis Depay joined United, and Valencia was bought not even under David Moyes, but Alex Ferguson 2 managers prior. So it was clearly Van Gaal was trying to put his own imprint on the squad. We have to also acknowledge, during this time, Man United they did not have a good right back. Raphael was nearing the end of his career at United, and even during his absolute prime, he was just a solid level Premier League player. Matteo Darmian came in, and he was a solid player who's gone on to a good career, but I think Van Gaal preferred that he could also play left back as well. Then, under Mourinho, it completely solidified Valencia as a right back, and not only just a right back, one of the best right backs in the league. Complete hindsight, but his attributes are completely suited for an elite level fullback. Valencia always seemed like he needed space in front of him because he wasn't a tricky winger like maybe a Di Maria. He was just an absolute athlete. So playing right back with a winger in front of you that you can overlap, of course, like I say, it is hindsight, but it just seemed perfect. In 2018, the man was also named club captain for Man United, so that shows just how important he was to the team. And in my opinion, this just really elongated Valencia's career because if he was a winger, 1, I don't think he'd have had a long career at Man United, and 2, he might have not been playing into the later stages. But let's move on to a player that it didn't transform his career, it completely saved his career, and that is Joe Linton. I mean, I love him. What a player. He is a player that everyone would want in the squad. If we are talking about the year in 2025, if we're talking 2021, no team in the Premier League or even the Championship probably would have wanted him. I mean, we surely can question the decision anyway to buy him as a striker for 40 million when the best league tally he had was 8 goals. The lad wasn't only bad up front, he was absolutely hopeless. For some bizarre reason, I find myself at St James's Park on New Year's Day watching Leicester just smash Newcastle to bits. And Joe Linton was up front playing under Steve Bruce. He was dreadful. It's kind of insane that in just 2 games this season, he equalled the entire tally of his goal scoring ability in his first year at Newcastle with 2 goals, and he was playing up front that year, and now he's a box-to-box midfielder. Like I said, it's a weird time for Newcastle. They had Steve Bruce, who I don't believe ever was accepted due to the Sunderland links and also due to just not being Rafa Benitez, and they'd spent nothing in years, and then for some reason they splashed 40 million on Joe Linton, and they also brought in Alan St-Maximin in the same window. But he was considered the biggest flop of the entire season, one of the biggest flops of all time, and he was just completely written off. But then Eddie Howe joined Newcastle in 2021, and it completely changed. What I like that it wasn't like he was played in the false 9 position and then the attacking mid, maybe a bit on the wings. Eddie Howe just went, I want this lad in the middle of the park. In this early stages of this Eddie Howe revolution at Newcastle, he just thought, right, let me get Sean Longstaff and Joe Linton running about like idiots, tackling anything that moves, and that is somehow going to get us out of this relegation fight, which it did. He did win the Player of the Year at Newcastle in the 2021-22 season. I mean, it could be one of the biggest turnarounds we've ever seen in football. He has to be one of the first names on the team sheet. He was one of the reasons why Newcastle won that cup final against Liverpool, because he was just brilliant. The aggression, the passion he was showing in that game. And let's just bear in mind, he's playing in midfield with Sandro Tonali, who at one point was getting compared to Andrea Pirlo. He was the Andrea Pirlo regen. And Bruno Guimaraes, who has been quoted at 100 plus million, and he is worth that amount of money. And Linton, he doesn't look out of place. If anything, sometimes he looks the best one out of the three. Let's move on to Victor Moses though. And before this, I recommend anyone to look at Victor Moses' backstory. Absolutely brilliant that he not only became a professional footballer, he just got out of Nigeria alive. But regardless of that, he came onto the scene at Crystal Palace and was just a tricky young player, wasn't he? It was that same crop of players with Wilfried Zaha and Nathaniel Klein, and this was where Palace were promoting the youth products to the world, and a lot of people were after them. Then he moved to Wigan and was just a direct winger. I saw him playing a lot on the left midfield, cutting in on his right a lot, and yet I'll be honest, we all just thought, yeah, he's a pretty good player. And then Chelsea bought him right after they won the Champions League final. So again, it's similar to Man United with Valencia. They were doing this because they need to strengthen. They just won the final, and everyone knows after you win the Champions League, you get a lot of money and you want to build the squad even better. Partially due to injuries and partially just because I don't think he was a brilliant winger. He never really kicked on. I mean, he played 19 games at Liverpool when he came on loan. I remember there was a lot of buzz around him at the time, just never really kicked on. Played 19 games at Stoke, 21 games at West Ham, and he only got 5 goals over that time. I mean, in 2013 he did win AFCON and he was named in the team of the tournament, so brilliant for him. But domestically, it just wasn't going his way. And then the big change happened. And this is kind of like the butterfly effect, isn't it? Because Antonio Conte joined Chelsea. And then in 2016, Chelsea went to the Emirates and got bounced by Arsenal 3-0. I mean, they were terrible in that game. And the next game is like one of the most historic turning points for a formation. Conte went, right, let's do 3-4-3. And for whatever reason, he got Victor Moses, a bit of an outcast at the time, and put him in right wing back. The lad was unreal. I mean, again, he was like Valencia. He was just so quick, so athletic. He won Player of the Month in November, just 2 months after he got put in the first team. And people talk about Kante helping Chelsea win that Premier League, which, yeah, he was their best player. Victor Moses was one of their most underrated players. Probably not from Chelsea fans, but he was one of the reasons why they won the title that year. Not only that, then he moved to Inter Milan and followed Conte over there. So it just shows that someone like a Conte, who was so demanding of his players, Victor Moses' attitude must have just been brilliant, because if someone like him is saying, oh, come and join me in Italy, then it shows a lot about a player, surely. Although he didn't have a brilliant rest of his career post that Chelsea season, it massively helped him, and it put him on the map again after his Wigan days. But let's just finish on probably the most modern one out of the lot, and that's got to be Jesus Navas. The fella was unreal at Sevilla. He didn't need his career saving at all. He was brilliant. He was one of the best wingers in Europe at the time. Best La Liga midfielder in 2010. He won 3 international trophies in a row with Spain, the 2008 Euros, 2010 World Cup and the 2012 Euros. To me, Jesus Navas and Joaquin, they were the 2 most underrated wingers in Europe at the time. They weren't right at the top level, but they were just that category below. And then he got a big move to Man City, which he won a Premier League there, and I liked Jesus Navas. I thought he was a good player. I just thought he was a bit lightweight because he was so slight, wasn't he? He was so quick, but any touch just pushed him off the ball. Plus, having wingers like Sane getting bought, Sterling getting bought, it naturally was just pushing him out of the team. So when he did move back to Sevilla, it felt like his career was on the way out. He was still only in his late 20s, early 30s at the time, but it seemed like Man City didn't want him anymore and they were moving on, and he went back to his original club where he could have a bit of a hero's welcome. But he moved to right back, and I know at Man City he got put into a bit of a makeshift right back at times, but he was never a solidified fullback, whereas when he went back to Sevilla, he was. And like I say, he wasn't like a Valencia or a Victor Moses where they had a bit of athleticism about them in terms of strength. I did not think Navas would have been a defender at all. And even in his early days at Sevilla, he covered for Dani Alves a bit, which he said helped him. But it was an absolute change. I mean, it probably helped nowadays that wingers and fullbacks, I mean, there's not much between them, is there? They have a lot of the same responsibilities. They get up and down the wing. But I think my one for like an ignorant English football fan was in the Euros last summer where he won it with Spain. And I looked at the team sheet and Mbappe versus Jesus Navas at 35 years old. I was like, good lord, this is going to be a massacre. And Mbappe didn't know what to do. He couldn't get around him. Jesus Navas was all over him in that game. I never thought he'd be a great fullback. Like I say, he was a bit lightweight for me. I always thought he was a brilliant winger. but never a fullback. But again, he really elongated his career. And you look at it, he won another 2 Europa Leagues with Sevilla. He was even the Europa League player of the tournament. But what a player. I mean, he left Sevilla recently in 2024, but he is one of those that I think took us all by surprise, that he became one of the best right backs in the world after being one of the best right wingers in the world. But let me know what you think. Let me know if you think I've missed any players. I mean, there are so many more, aren't there? Leave a comment below. Who do you think's position got changed and it completely transformed the career? Like I say, leave a like of the video. Like I say, leave a comment, subscribe if you enjoyed it. But thanks for watching.